Hi everyone, I'm Govardhan Kanapuram. I'm a customer engineer at Google Cloud. So, as part of this session, I'm going to talk about API ecosystems, Apigee, and how to get the most value out of your API programs. So, first, a little bit about me. I have about 15 years of experience in the technology space. I have experience with APIs, containers, microservices, cloud infrastructure, cloud architecture. My job here at Google is to help our customers with their cloud migrations, modernizations, digital transformations, and I primarily focus on the APIs and API management space. So today I'll be talking about why we need APIs in the first place, and then the typical challenges we see while working with our customers on their API programs, and how to mitigate those challenges and establish an effective API program at your organizations. So, to get started, over the past decade, we have seen that digital disruptors burst onto the scene and radically reshaped all kinds of industries across every vertical. So, the decade has been defined by digital disruptors. That's how I would say. And traditional businesses have struggled to remain in the face of this dramatic challenges. However, the same technology that enabled this digital disruptors is now easily available and accessible to anyone. So things are changing. The traditional businesses are transforming themselves. Also, new players with the next big ideas, we see them. And the technology is now accessible to everyone, which is kind of creating a pretty much level playing ground for everyone. So it's a crowded market. So given this background, success really depends on your ability to get to market quickly and to outpace your competitors. And with unique products, unique experiences for your customers, you need a USP. So you need to be able to differentiate yourselves. And if we look at the past few years, success was more about creating digitally driven businesses. However, most companies have already got to that point now, right? So the focus now should be on achieving digital excellence. That's how I would say. So how do you excel? Think about building profitable platforms, business platforms which can be reused to expand and grow. What I mean by that is, when you're digitizing a business, you have to always think about scale and expand the future, right? Scaling through partners, expanding through new sales channels, so that the platforms you built inside should be able to easily integrate with all those external systems. And also think about building better customer experiences, delivering business outcomes based on this digital excellence. Focus on standardization, automation. Think about things like developer portals, marketplaces. Also gain value by delivering business driven solutions. Monetize and productize your data and services before your competitors do. Drive adoption, profitability, and you have to do that in a fast way by empowering your developers, and also operate more efficiently as you grow, and get that benefits from the networks and the ecosystems in and around your core business. And that is where we see the real value for APIs. So APIs are the underpinning part of building digital products. They are critical to creating digital strategies. They are enablers to leveraging partners and participants in the ecosystems to create new revenue streams. So here is an example. Ticketmaster, they are a US-based ticket sales company, for music concerts, sports events. So APIs have helped them decouple their backend from their application experience layer, and that enabled them to innovate. So there are three areas of advancements you see here with APIs. So by adding Google Dialogflow, they were able to use speech recognition technology to make ordering by voice possible, and that created a completely new sales channel for them. And as they already had the Ticketmaster APIs, they were able to do that in a very easy way. And next thing you see is the generation of additional demand on the left side, where you see new sales generated via media channels, Facebook, other third-party sales platforms, and retailers like Costco. Uh, they also started extending the supply sides of things. If you look on the right-hand side, By consuming third-party APIs and adding them to their supply, they could now sell tickets to events and venues of inventory that was entirely owned by other providers. So now this basically increased the total supply of tickets available to them. So through Ticketmaster, you're seeing tickets which are completely sitting in someone else's inventory, and also scale the other side, right, the sales side of it. So both ways, inventory and sales. And they did this by reusing the sales platform they have already built inside. So by taking what they have built inside and making it available to all their partners wherever anyone wants to procure a ticket from whatever app or device, right? They can go to maybe a Google app, Facebook, and they can use Ticketmaster API and buy a ticket. So never touching the actual Ticketmaster website. So now doing all this, now they're on track to doubling their initial revenue, like doubling, creating an additional $1 billion revenue on this B2B business model. So almost doubled, on a track to double from where they started. And not just this example, but studies have shown that organizations who have invested in APIs and API programs saw an increase in sales, decrease in cost, and that way increase their valuation by almost 12%. But what are APIs really? Think about them as the doors into their applications and data of your organization. Now, this APIs are how you create new customer experiences. It is how customers interact with organization and your enterprises, right? So, and not just individual customers, but partners. That whole ecosystem. You should start thinking about all the new business models they can make it possible. You have to start thinking about it as as a business construct than just something enabling technology. And look at this example. We all use e-commerce apps for shopping these days. Here you see a person buying a door latch on this app. So there is all kinds of information showing up on that application to the user, and it comes from a variety of backend systems. And the developer of that application takes all this information and puts it on the screen for us to deliver that experience. So all of those things are actually powered by APIs of some sort that gives access to those backend systems. So the picture might be coming from a content management system, the reviews from a third-party rating system. There might be a microservice for the Q&A section. The shipping estimate might be coming from a shipping partner. So all of those things are being delivered through various APIs, and that's what makes this experience possible. So having good APIs allows your developers to develop this beautiful experiences to your end users and customers. So now, as we understand the need for APIs, here are some stats we have seen with our customers over the past 12 months. So 82% organizations with mature API programs reported an increase in their efficiency from using APIs. And they also saw a 200% growth in the number of APIs they are using. So all of those indicate that API usage is exploding. And that's because APIs are enabling growth, right? And but this growth of APIs is introducing new challenges. So they need to be managed, they need to be secured, they need to be up and available, they need to be able to serve various architectural patterns, protocols, backend. So complexity increases, right? So working with our customers over the years on their API strategies, API programs, and Apigee, we have built a recipe to mitigate this kind of challenges. And there are various ingredients for this recipe, each of which, if applied in a proper way, will help you run a successful API program at your organization. So let's talk about each of those ingredients. The first ingredient is to make it easier for your app developers to create those great experiences. So we talk a lot to our customers about their API strategies. The customers we see who are most successful have a few things in common. They see APIs as the starting point. So the APIs are created first before the implementation, and they're specifically designed to support applications. So what I mean is the APIs are interface to the enterprise, and the only way to get to the enterprise applications or information is through this managed APIs. So there are no backdoors. Also, the APIs are designed so that they are consistent and easy to understand. So if you have used one, you should be able to easily figure out how to use the other ones. And the APIs form a facade, a layer of abstraction on top of your enterprise services. So the backend systems may change frequently, but the APIs should remain consistent. So this kind of facilitates innovation and modernization. You can refactor or replace those backend services without disrupting the applications that depend on them, right? Without disrupting either the development efforts or the business itself. And additionally, there's also a developer portal which you will need, which will have all the good documentation about the APIs, and the developers will be able to access those in a self-service fashion, start reading the documentation and understand, uh, you know, discover all the APIs, understand how to use them, and then start building apps and experiences consuming those APIs. So this is one of our customers exam developer portal experience. It's a credit reporting company. So they have this beautiful developer portal. So this is where they provide information about provide their APIs and the information about all of those APIs to their consumers, partners, and there will be documentation on how to call the APIs. There will be a catalog of the APIs. There will be schemas in there telling what format it is, how the request should be, what to expect in the response, what kind of errors you might encounter, all those things like that. So once a developer logs in onto this portal, and if they want to build a website or some application, so they can easily read, understand, and start building those experiences consuming this APIs very quickly. So Apigee comes with an integrated developer portal if you want to quickly get started, or you can easily develop something if you have more custom requirements using the Drupal portal, using all the Drupal modules. You can do that as well. And then the next ingredient is to think and manage APIs as think about and manage APIs as products. So success of any organization actually depends on their ability to package their services, capabilities, and assets into modular pieces of software that can be repeatedly reused. So Apigee has specific features that allow you to turn a set of APIs into products. So you'll be able to control who has access and how they can use those APIs. So you can take any URL, which is an API, and figure out what people can do with that, right? What they are allowed to call. Do they have read access, write access? How frequently are they allowed to call it? What applications are allowed to use? And all those things like that. So having that in place allows you to really manage your APIs as products. You can bundle together multiple APIs or mix and match methods, operations from different APIs, and bundle them together as products. So you can also apply quotas, pricing models, and offer them to your customers as tiered services. Tiered, like think like maybe a bronze customer, silver customer, gold customer, and what they get to call, how many times they get to call, do they have to pay a price, if so how much, all those kinds of things. So an example of that is AccuWeather. They have a lot of weather data. They even before using Apigee, they had great success sharing their data via APIs with their partners who have built applications. In the applications you see in your cars, on your mobile phones, on smart TVs. So, but they wanted to get that data into the hands of individual developers. Developer building their own small applications, right? So they needed a way to tailor their offerings to the needs of a variety of developers, and then monetize those different offering levels accordingly. So Apigee helped them to break out their APIs into different set of packages and bundle their APIs into different products to suit this individual developers' needs. So like rate limits, pricing models to expand, into that set of untapped customer base, and they were very successful with it. And the next ingredient is to create a secure pattern for sharing your APIs. So we saw 170% increase in abusive API traffic just last year alone. So relatively compared to the previous year. So that itself means that abusive traffic is on the rise. Bots and hackers are getting smarter. So you need a plan in place to address those risks. And you have to think about it formally and have a strategy for it. So Apigee has various out-of-box policies which will help you protect your APIs from all kind of security threats: authentication, authorization, rate limiting, spike errors, JSON, XML-based threats. So, and also using other Google Cloud technologies along with Apigee, you can provide the same level of protection at every layer. Like you can use Cloud Armor to help with DDoS, reCAPTCHA. It's going to help with bot detection and fraud prevention, and combined with Apigee, which will let you apply specific security measures per API that will allow you to control who can access and who don't, and also stop this abusive traffic or bot traffic as early as possible before it gets into your uh, systems, infrastructure, or APIs, right? And there is also a new feature, advanced API security, which comes with Apigee that identifies misconfigured APIs by giving your APIs a security score and recommendations to have a better security posture, right? It will alert you, give your APIs a score, and also recommendations on how to get those scores higher. That way, uh, securing yourself. It also helps you detect bot traffic so that you can detect suspicious traffic coming from some automated tools or bots and stop those, right? And an example is Flex, their IoT platform, right inside. They capture, transmit, and analyze data from FDA regulated medical devices. They have to be in compliance with security, privacy, and regulatory requirements because it's all because their customers operate in heavily regulated industries. So security and privacy are extremely critical for them. So they need to comply with HIPAA and GDPR regulations to protect all the patient data they have. So Apigee's advanced security features help them protect and defend against all kinds of cyber threats, attacks, and at the same time, let them confidently and confidentially transmit their data as they need per their business requirements. And the next ingredient is to use the API manual platform to modernize applications. So you can use Apigee as a catalyst to jumpstart your transformation. You can start by wrapping a legacy service and using Apigee to make it consumable by modern applications. So over time, the actual service in the backend can be modernized, and you can do that without disrupting all the different applications that depend on it. So for example, you might have a soap service and you want to make it work with some cloud native apps, right? Mobile applications. But you don't have access to it, or you are not in the right organization to be able to simply replace it, or you just can't, do it now because maybe there are a lot of dependencies on it. So you need to do it over time. So what you can do is you can wrap it with Apigee and transform the request and response going back and forth, so that the developers on the outside who are consuming, they can request and get the response as per their application's requirements, regardless of what the backend is accepting and serving. So how would you do this? Let's look at a quick example. So let's say you have this legacy system and you want to move it up to the cloud and you want to make it so that you're not disrupting any of the consumers. So you can move that by putting something in between. So some of the goals here, or some of the things you would have to think here, would be you want to move it with no downtime. You want to add support for JSON, which is currently only in XML. And depending on what the header is in, what they make a request, you can kind of send the right response back and do some call quotas so that somebody doesn't call it more than it can handle, and maybe remove some internal data that shouldn't be shared to some partners accessing it from outside your organization. So also make it easy to onboard new applications. So you can do all that by placing Apigee between these applications and their backend services. So it's a nice way to modernize and give you the luxury to replace something over time without trying to rip it out, causing disruption to your business. And in addition to that, application integration, which is an integration platform as a service solution, can be used to significantly reduce the time needed to integrate the backend apps and data. So this is a new offering from Google. We were using it internally inside Google for a while now, but now we are making it available to the enterprises. There are over 50 connectors to third-party services like SAP and Salesforce. Application integration does the heavy lifting of managing those connections to those systems, and even allows you to receive events from those third-party services, like some data capture from some Salesforce. So you can capture all those, and it does everything you can accept. It can allow you to do complex orchestration, long-running processes, data mapping, and different connectors, things like that. And another thing with modernization is we often talk about an inventory of services. And a lot of times when we work with our customers, what we notice is that they don't know what they currently have. So the first step you need to do before you decide whether you want to retire something, rewrite something, replatform something, or wrap something with an API is simply to have an inventory of everything you have. So what are all the APIs you are using today? So we have a product called API Hub, and that exactly allows you to do that. It allows you to simply record everything that has an API, put some notes in there, things like who owns it, and decide how to manage it going further. Going further, right? What is the strategy for it? How are you going to modernize it? So you can capture all those kind of things. So API Hub enables you to consolidate information about all the APIs in your enterprise. It includes APIs at all stages of their life cycle, like from design, implementation, deprecation, or retirement, and also in all the environments. What's there in development environment? What's there in testing? What's there in production? So it basically consolidates and organizes all the information about the APIs in your organization, so that they can be easily found and reused instead of rewriting. So it records information about uh, all the APIs in all environments and all their stages of their life cycle. So, because what happens is when we work with our customers, we see a lot of duplication because everyone in this large enterprises will be working in their own pocket. So, for example, like we had a customer who had, I think, 27 ways of 27 APIs to send out a text message, because no one knew that they already had that API for doing the exact same thing, and people were building the same functionality within their own LOBs, so within their own teams, so without understanding, you know, that they already have it somewhere within the organization. So think about all that duplication or all that development effort, the development hours, which were wasted reinventing the same thing again and again. And the next ingredient is to use the API Manager platform to measure and tune. So if you want to improve something, anything, right, you need to be able to measure it. So, and then also see how it's performing. And that's when you see what are the areas, identify what are the areas of improvement. So Apigee has a full featured system for measuring every aspect of your API program, because things like basic business metrics, like who is using which API, what are they doing with those, what type of applications are calling, which partners are sending in traffic, how much traffic is getting in, things for like capacity planning, is the traffic trending up or down, and what will the future look like. So there are analytics for everything you want to measure. So what would you measure? Here are a few metrics you need to consider. Some of those things are going to be like, think of them as OKRs or KPIs to run your business, or think of them as execution focused, product adoption focused, business impact, all different categories, all of those things, you know, like things like how many APIs you have, like how are the APIs performing, what are the latency, and then which APIs are being consumed more. So you can measure all those kind of metrics. So having this metrics in place will allow you to measure your success and make sure you're on track, right? So Citrix is a good example. Apigee's built-in analytics run automatically on every API. So Citrix can track and consume metrics it wants. So they get a clear view into exactly how APIs are used so that they can continue to optimize performance and prioritize features. For example, developers can look at an API used to create accounts and determine how many times an account creation failed, right? And then identify the reason and fix those, right? And traffic patterns helps them identify their most popular APIs and helps them determine the types of APIs developers are looking for, so that way they can kind of focus or prioritize features or their products. And then the next ingredient is to use APIs to engage and innovate with partners. So this is estimated to be a $50 trillion opportunity, the ability to do business digitally between businesses. So Arity is an example. They are a startup who spun out of Allstate Insurance. They had a lot of historical driver data, uh, histories and behaviors and analytics around them. So they used Apigee to open up their data to partners to encourage innovation. It accelerated their time to research and develop innovations. And using those analytics and insights, they were able to identify growth opportunities and create new revenue streams. Finally, the last ingredient is a full lifecycle API managed platform, and that is what you need. That is what I'm concluding to. At a high level, you have a bunch of services that are running in your SaaS systems, cloud, and there are a number of applications that want to consume those. So maybe websites, mobile apps, devices, IoT devices, call center apps. And there is a need to manage the consumption of those things and manage the traffic that goes back and forth between these, right? That's where API management comes in. It sits between those backend services and those consumers of those services. And it allows an API team to figure out what to publish, and it allows an application developer to have a whole catalog of things that they can use for creating applications. So some typical things we have been speaking about, that you can do with AppGR, build a facade over the backend to hide away the complexity of the enterprise, control who has access to the backend data and systems, rate limit the backend to protect it from too many calls, put quotas, apply caching to help performance, reformat the request and response to make them function with modern applications, devices, manage application developers, host documentation, collect usage analytics, and ultimately maybe monetize some of those APIs, data services, and then generate revenue. So that's kind of shows the high level value of a full life cycle API management platform and API program overall, right? And a couple of success stories. AccuWeather, I already spoke about them. They're selling weather forecast. They're processing 30 billion API requests per day. So if you think about the world's population, I think it's 7 billion now. So it's almost like everyone is calling it, like probably 6 times a day. And they have about 6,500 developers who have signed up. And that happened only within a span of 2 months. And 60 users purchased one of their three API packages within 2 months of them being available. So it's a great success story with their developer portal and how it greatly expanded their business. And then L'Oreal, it's a makeup company. They are powering 25 different branded applications. So they allow personalization, more data, and real-time customer experiences. Things like trying on hair color or lipstick just from your application. So these are all these experiences which are being made possible and a reality using APIs. And Jackson, it's a retirement investment company. Jackson created 130 APIs in the first year, and they digitized most of their business operations. So they had rapid onboarding of partners and increased their efficiency. So those are three quick examples on how folks are running effective API programs using Apigee. And so how can we actually get started? If you see value in this approach, the API first approach, what we typically do at customers is work on first use cases together, build basically a bridge between their business, IT, security, and work on a new way to organize this communications through APIs and API management platform. So we can stand up the platform pretty quickly in a few days. Then we would decide on APIs that would make sense as MVPs, as a first value prop to test out, and just go quickly live in a couple of weeks, test out the approach to see how this works, and then moving forward, from there to actually providing a developer portal for the consumers, for the developers using those APIs. And just say going forward, all the integration should go through these APIs via the developer portal, and that's all in a self-service manner for apps and services. And then after that, scale it out with further use cases, and then that's how you realize the value of your API program. So it's a pretty standard process. We have successfully done it with lost a lot of customers, and we'll be able to show value pretty quickly. So yeah, that's all I had for today. So uh, thank you all for your time, and good luck with everything you're doing with your APIs and API programs. And hope this session was helpful.